Janae, Henriette is our housekeeper.
Right.
Remember when network executives thought spinning off literally any character from a hit show was guaranteed gold? The 90s were peak spin-off fever, where suits and boardrooms convinced themselves that if audiences loved a character for 22 minutes a week, they'd definitely tune in for a whole new series. Today we're diving into 9 forgotten spin-offs from the 90s that crashed and burned so hard, even the cast probably pretends they never happened. These weren't just failures. They were expensive lessons in why you can't bottle lightning twice. Number 9, The Tortellis, spin-off of Cheers, NBC. Cheers was the crown jewel of NBC's Thursday night lineup in the 80s. The show about a Boston bar where everybody knows your name ran for 11 seasons and launched more successful spin-offs than almost any sitcom in history. Well, almost. For every Frasier, there's a Tortelli-shaped crater in the network schedule. The Tortellis premiered in January of 1987, spinning off Carla's ex-husband Nick Tortelli, played by Dan Hedaya, and his dim-witted second wife Loretta, played by Jean Casem. The premise was simple. Nick and Loretta moved to Las Vegas, where Nick's son Anthony runs a TV repair shop. Cue the wacky misadventures and family dysfunction. On paper, it made sense. Hedaya and Kasem had chemistry, their characters were memorable Cheers fixtures, and Vegas provided plenty of sitcom possibilities. The problem was that Nick Tortelli worked best in small doses. Like a really aggressive spice, a little bit added flavor to Cheers, but a whole plate of it was indigestible. The show premiered to decent ratings, riding the Cheers wave like a drunk surfer catching the wrong current. But audiences quickly realized that Nick's boorish behavior and Loretta's stupidity, which were funny for 1 or 2 scenes in a Cheers episode, became exhausting when stretched across 22 minutes. It was like being trapped at a dinner party with your least favorite relative. Sure, their stories are amusing for 5 minutes, but a whole evening, no thanks. The writing struggled too. Cheers had a talented ensemble to balance Nick's obnoxiousness. The Tortellis tried to build a cast around him, but nobody else clicked. Anthony, played by Timothy Williams, was bland. Loretta's sister Charlotte, played by Carlene Watkins, felt like a poor man's Diane Chambers, and the supporting cast disappeared faster than free pretzels at a bar. Behind the scenes, the show was rushed into production to capitalize on Cheers' popularity. The writers never quite figured out what stories to tell, or how to make Nick sympathetic enough to root for. He remained the same crude, selfish character he'd been on Cheers, except now he was the lead instead of the punchline. NBC pulled the plug after just 13 episodes, with only 10 actually airing. The final 3 were burned off later that year, the network equivalent of quietly taking out the trash at 3 in the morning and hoping nobody notices. Dan Hedaya went on to have a successful character actor career, appearing in films like Clueless and The Usual Suspects. June Kasem continued working in television, later lending her voice to animated shows. But The Tortellis remains a cautionary tale. Just because a character kills in supporting role doesn't mean they can carry a series. Sometimes the best seasoning should stay in the shaker. Number 8, Nurses, spin-off of Empty Nest, and The Golden Girls, NBC. The Golden Girls universe was NBC's cash cow in the late 80s and early 90s. The Golden Girls ran for 7 seasons, spawned Empty Nest, which ran for 7 seasons, and then producers thought, why not go for the hat trick? Enter Nurses, the 3rd spin-off in the Golden Girls extended universe that nobody asked for. Nurses premiered in September of 1991 as a workplace sitcom set in a Miami hospital. It featured an ensemble of nurses dealing with patients, doctors, and each other. The connection to Empty Nest was minimal. The characters occasionally crossed over, but mostly Nurses stood on its own, or tried to. The show starred Stephanie Hodge as Sandy Miller, a tough-talking head nurse. Arnisha Walker played Annie Rowland. Mary Jo Keenan was Julie Milbury. Ada Maris played Gina Cuevas. And Kip Gilman rounded out the cast as Paco Ortiz. Later seasons added and subtracted cast members like a hospital shuffling staff during budget cuts. Here's the thing. Nurses wasn't terrible. It had decent writers, the cast had chemistry, and some episodes were genuinely funny. The problem was that it felt completely unnecessary. The Golden Girls worked because of sharp writing and 4 legendary actresses. Empty Nest succeeded by borrowing that formula and adding Richard Mulligan's talent. Nurses felt like a copy of a copy, like reheating the same casserole until it loses all flavor. The show bounced around NBC's schedule, like a patient in a wheelchair with broken brakes. First it aired Saturdays, then it moved to different time slots, sometimes airing after Empty Nest, sometimes not. The network clearly didn't know what to do with it. When Empty Nest ended in 1994, Nurses lost its lead-in, and whatever audience crossover appeal it had. To be fair, the show lasted 3 seasons and 62 episodes, which is more than most failed spin-offs can claim. But it never found a consistent audience or critical acclaim. It wasn't offensively bad, it was just aggressively okay. And in the world of 90s network television, okay wasn't good enough. The cast scattered after cancellation. Stephanie Hodge did some voice work and appeared in various TV shows. Arnisha Walker continued acting in television and film. Mary Jo Keenan worked as a writer and producer. The show itself faded from memory faster than a patient checking out of the hospital. Nurses proved that you can't just slap a new coat of paint on a formula and expect audiences to keep watching. By 1994, viewers wanted fresher, edgier comedies. Friends was about to premiere and change the sitcom landscape, and Nurses, with its safe workplace humor and Golden Girls pedigree, felt like a relic from a different era. Sometimes being fine isn't fine enough. Number 7. Vinnie and Bobby, attempted spin-off of Doogie Howser MD, ABC. Doogie Howser MD was one of ABC's unexpected hits of the late 80s and early 90s. Neil Patrick Harris played a teenage doctor, balancing medical crises with high school drama. The show ran for 4 seasons and made Harris a household name. Naturally, ABC wanted to keep the Doogie train rolling. In 1992, the network aired a backdoor pilot for Vinnie and Bobby, a proposed spin-off featuring 2 recurring characters from Doogie Howser. The episode, titled A Quiet Riot, focused on Doogie's friends Vinnie Delfino, played by Scott Grimes, and Bobby Howser, played by Lawrence Pressman, Doogie's father. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Actually, the proposed spin-off centered on Vinnie Delfino and focused on his life working at a youth center. The backdoor pilot aired as part of Doogie Howser's run, testing whether audiences would follow Vinnie into his own series. They wouldn't. The problem was obvious. Vinnie was a great sidekick, the loyal best friend who provided comic relief and grounded Doogie's genius in regular teenage concerns. But as a lead character, he didn't have enough depth. He was the French fries, not the burger. Good as a side, not substantial enough as a main course. The backdoor pilot tried to give Vinnie more dimension, showing him mentoring troubled kids and dealing with real-world problems. But it felt forced, like watching a character actor audition for a leading role they weren't quite ready for. Scott Grimes was talented, no question. He'd later prove himself in shows like ER and Band of Brothers. But in 1992, as a Doogie Howser spin-off lead, he couldn't carry the weight. ABC passed on, picking up the series, quietly shelving the idea and letting Vinnie remain where he belonged in Doogie's orbit. The network realized what should have been obvious from the start. The magic of Doogie Howser was Neil Patrick Harris playing a teenage doctor. Take away the teenage doctor angle and the unique premise, and you're left with a generic teen show that a dozen other series were already doing better. Scott Grimes continued working steadily, becoming a respected character actor with a side career in music. Lawrence Pressman kept acting for decades, and Vinnie and Bobby became a trivia answer, a forgotten almost spin-off that never made it past the pilot stage. The lesson here is simple. Not every supporting character deserves their own show. Sometimes the best friend should stay the best friend. And sometimes network executives need to learn that spinning off literally everyone from a hit show is a recipe for disaster. But did they learn? Number 6, The Bradys, spin-off / reboot of The Brady Bunch, CBS. The Brady Bunch ended in 1974, but the Bradys themselves refused to leave the cultural consciousness. Throughout the 80s, CBS kept trying to recapture that wholesome family magic with reunion movies and specials. Then, in 1990, someone had a brilliant idea. What if we brought back the Brady Bunch, but made it dark and dramatic? Yes, really. The Bradys premiered in February of 1990 as a 1-hour drama series. Gone were the laugh tracks and lighthearted sitcom hijinks. In their place, CBS offered serious storylines about the Brady kids, now adults, dealing with alcoholism, infertility, and career struggles. It was like watching your childhood get a gritty reboot nobody asked for. The show brought back most of the original cast. Florence Henderson and Robert Reed reprised their roles as Carol and Mike Brady. The Brady kids, now played by their original actors, dealt with very un-Brady-like problems. Marcia, played by Maureen McCormick, struggled with alcoholism. Jan, played by Eve Plum, faced infertility. Greg, played by Barry Williams, dealt with his medical career. Bobby, played by Mike Lookinland, faced paralysis after a racing accident. Wait, Bobby was paralyzed? In a Brady Bunch spin-off? Yeah, that's where we were in 1990. The tone was completely wrong. Audiences who loved the Brady Bunch wanted comfort food, not emotional trauma. And viewers looking for serious drama weren't going to find it in a show about the Brady family trying to be deep. It was the worst of both worlds, like ordering a cheeseburger and getting a kale salad shaped like a burger. CBS promoted the Bradys heavily, hoping nostalgia would drive ratings. Instead, viewers tuned in, said, "What is this?" and changed the channel. The premiere drew curious audiences, but they fled faster than Alice running from a souffle emergency. Behind the scenes, Robert Reed, who'd famously clashed with Brady Bunch creator Sherwood Schwartz over the show's silliness, actually embraced the dramatic format. He wanted to prove the Bradys could tackle serious issues. Unfortunately, the audience disagreed. They wanted the family who solved problems with pork chops and applesauce, not therapy and 12-step programs. CBS canceled the Bradys after 6 episodes. Only 6. That's barely enough time to get through half a season, let alone establish a dramatic arc. The network quietly buried the show, and everyone involved pretended it never happened. The cast went back to reunion movies and nostalgia appearances. Barry Williams wrote a memoir. Maureen McCormick did the same. The Brady Bunch Variety Hour remains weird, but at least it was entertainingly weird. The Bradys was just depressing. The failure of the Bradys taught networks an important lesson. You can't fundamentally change what made a show work and expect audiences to follow. The Brady Bunch was comfort food. The Bradys tried to be vegetables, and America chose to skip that meal entirely. Number 5. Cutters, spin-off of Coach, ABC. Coach was one of ABC's reliable sitcom hits from 1989 to 1997. Craig T. Nelson played Hayden Fox, a college football coach dealing with career pressures, family life, and his dim-witted assistant coaches, Dauber and Luther. The show was comfort food television, the kind of safe, wholesome comedy that families watched together on Tuesday nights. In 1993, ABC tried to expand the Coach universe with Cutters, a spin-off focusing on the Coulter family. Wait, who? Exactly. The Cutters were introduced in a backdoor pilot episode of Coach. Then ABC greenlit them for their own series. Shannon Wilcox starred as Joanne Cutter, and Robert Walden played her husband George. Their daughter Sandy, played by Ann Cusack, and son Jonathan, played by Zach Pfeiffer, rounded out the main cast. The premise was typical early 90s sitcom fare, a middle-class family dealing with everyday problems, with occasional appearances by Coach characters to remind viewers this was technically a spin-off. The problem was that nobody cared about the Cutters. They weren't compelling on Coach, and giving them their own show didn't magically make them interesting. It was like taking the least memorable characters from a hit show and expecting them to carry their own series. Who thought this was a good idea? Apparently ABC executives, because Cutters premiered in June of 1993 and lasted, checks notes, 1 season. Actually, it barely lasted that. The show aired sporadically, with ABC clearly having no idea what to do with it. Episodes were burned off during the summer, the television graveyard where shows go to die quietly. The writing was generic, the characters were forgettable, and the Coach connection felt forced. Hayden Fox would occasionally appear, but those crossovers highlighted how much more charismatic and watchable Coach was compared to Cutters. It was like watching the JV team after enjoying the varsity squad. ABC pulled the plug after 11 episodes, with the series finale airing in September of 1993. The network didn't even bother with a proper ending. The Cutters just stopped appearing on television, and viewers who even noticed probably shrugged and moved on. The cast scattered to other projects. Ann Cusack, sister of John and Joan Cusack, continued working in film and television. The other cast members faded into obscurity, and Cutters became a footnote in the failed spin-off Hall of Shame. The lesson ABC should have learned was that spin-offs need a compelling reason to exist. The Tortellis at least had recognizable characters from Cheers. The Bradys had nostalgia, even if they misused it. But Cutters? Nobody asked for it, nobody wanted it, and nobody watched it. Sometimes a spin-off is just a desperate network play, and audiences can smell desperation like a quarterback sensing a blitz. Number 4, Good Advice, spin-off of Blossom and Something Else, CBS. Good Advice premiered on CBS in April of 1993 with a pedigree that confused everyone. It was technically a spin-off of 2 different shows, Blossom on NBC and Dear John, a British sitcom remake that ran on NBC from 1988 to 92. If that sounds unnecessarily complicated, buckle up, because it gets weirder. Shelley Long, fresh off her Cheers departure and a string of forgettable movies, starred as Susan DeRuza, a recently divorced marriage counselor. Yes, a divorced marriage counselor. The irony was the joke. Treat Williams played her boyfriend and fellow therapist, Jack Harold. The two ran a couples counseling practice, dealing with dysfunctional relationships while navigating their own. The Blossom connection came through Shelley Long's character, Susan, who was introduced in a Blossom episode as a potential love interest for Blossom's father, Nick, played by Ted Wass. The Dear John connection involved Treat Williams' character having ties to that show's universe. It was network synergy gone mad, like trying to force 3 jigsaw puzzles together and hoping the picture makes sense. CBS promoted Good Advice as sophisticated adult comedy, thinking Shelley Long's sitcom pedigree and Treat Williams' dramatic credentials would blend into television magic. Instead, it felt like watching 2 actors audition for different shows in the same scenes. The tone wobbled between broad sitcom comedy and dramedy introspection, never quite landing on either. The therapy session scenes tried for Frasier-level wit, but came across more like a Hallmark movie with punchlines. The relationship between Susan and Jack lacked chemistry despite the actors' best efforts. And the weekly parade of dysfunctional couples seeking advice felt repetitive by episode 3. Behind the scenes, CBS kept tinkering with the format. They added and dropped cast members, including Christopher McDonald as Jack's brother, and Margaret Welsh as Susan's sister. The network moved the show around the schedule like a therapist trying different approaches with a difficult patient. Nothing worked. Critics were brutal. Reviews called it bland, formulaic, and lacking the spark that made Cheers or even Blossom appointment viewing. Audiences agreed, with ratings dropping faster than a patient fleeing a bad therapy session. CBS canceled Good Advice after 2 seasons and 30 episodes, not because it was offensively terrible, but because it was forgettably mediocre. The show was like room temperature water, technically fine, but nobody's excited about drinking it. Shelley Long returned to sporadic TV work and the occasional movie. Treat Williams continued his career in film and television, later finding success on Everwood. And Good Advice faded from memory, proof that having big names and multiple show connections doesn't guarantee success. Sometimes a spin-off is just a bad idea with good actors attached. Number 3, Enemies. Proposed spin-off of NYPD Blue, ABC. NYPD Blue revolutionized network drama when it premiered in 1993. Stephen Bachko's gritty cop show pushed boundaries with violence, nudity, and language previously unseen on network television. The show launched careers, won Emmys, and ran for 12 seasons. Naturally, ABC wanted to spin it off. In 1996, the network aired a backdoor pilot titled Simone Says as part of NYPD Blue's 3rd season. The episode introduced Detective Bobby Simone's former partner, working in a different precinct, dealing with a case that crossed into Simone's territory. The idea was to create a spin-off called Enemies, focusing on this new character and his squad. The backdoor pilot starred Peter Onorati as Detective Vince Gotelli, a tough cop with a complicated past. The episode tried to establish him as a flawed but compelling lead, giving him moral ambiguity and personal demons to wrestle with. On paper, it sounded like NYPD Blue formula in a different setting. ABC executives loved it. Test audiences liked it. The network greenlit scripts and started pre-production. Then something strange happened. Nothing. The show never materialized. Enemies became one of those proposed spin-offs that died in development hell, never making it to series despite significant investment. What happened? Reports vary. Some say Jimmy Smits, who played Bobby Simone, was leaving NYPD Blue, and the network decided splitting the franchise would dilute the brand. Others claim budget concerns killed it. Bobschko was already juggling multiple shows, and adding another hour-long drama to his plate might have been too much. The most likely explanation is that ABC got cold feet. NYPD Blue was lightning in a bottle, a perfect storm of Bobschko's vision, talented cast, and boundary-pushing content. Trying to recreate that magic with new characters in a different precinct felt risky. What if Enemies flopped and damaged the NYPD Blue brand? Better to play it safe and keep the original show running. Peter Onorati continued working in television, appearing in shows throughout the 90s and 2000s. Bobschko moved on to other projects, and Enemies became a what-if footnote in TV history, a spin-off so forgotten that most people don't even know it almost existed. The failure, or rather, the non-existence of Enemies, taught networks a valuable lesson about protecting successful brands. Sometimes not making a spin-off is smarter than making a bad one. NYPD Blue lasted 12 seasons without Enemies diluting its impact, and ABC avoided the embarrassment of a high-profile flop. Number 2, Top of the Heap, spin-off of Married with Children, Fox. Married with Children was Fox's longest-running sitcom before The Simpsons took that crown. The show about the dysfunctional Bundy family ran from 1987 to 1997, pushing boundaries and offending pearl clutchers with gleeful abandon. In 1991, Fox decided to spin off one of Al Bundy's recurring foes. Top of the Heap focused on Charlie Verducci, played by Joseph Bologna, a divorced father trying to make it in Chicago. His son Vinnie, played by Matt LeBlanc, yes, that Matt LeBlanc, lived with him and dreamed of becoming a model. The show was introduced through Married with Children episodes, with Charlie established as Al's rival. The premise was thin. Charlie and Vinnie were basically poor man's Bundys, struggling with women, money, and life. But where Married with Children had Ed O'Neill's charisma and sharp writing, Top of the Heap felt like a photocopy. The jokes were cruder without being funnier. The characters were pathetic without being likable, and the whole thing reeked of desperation. Yet Fox aired Top of the Heap in April of 1991, giving it a prime Sunday night slot after Married with Children. The network hoped audiences would stick around for more dysfunctional family comedy. Instead, they changed the channel or turned off the TV entirely. Critics savaged it. Reviews called it offensive without being clever and Married with Children's ugly stepchild. The show managed to gross people out while boring them. A remarkable double achievement. Even Married with Children fans who enjoyed that show's transgressive humor found Top of the Heap too much. Matt LeBlanc, early in his career and clearly needing the work, did his best with material that gave him nothing to work with. Years later, he'd joke about the show in interviews, acknowledging it was terrible but grateful it led to better opportunities. Like Friends, which premiered 3 years later and made him a superstar. Fox canceled Top of the Heap after 7 episodes. But the network wasn't done with the Verducci family. In a move that defied all logic, Fox retooled the show, renamed it Vinnie and Bobby, and brought it back in the fall of 1992. Same characters, new title, equally terrible. Wait, Vinnie and Bobby again? Yes, Fox was apparently convinced Matt LeBlanc could carry a sitcom and kept trying. This version added Bobby, played by Jimmy Dizel, as Vinnie's friend. But it lasted 5 episodes. After 2 failed attempts and 12 total episodes, Fox finally gave up on the Verducci family. Charlie and Vinnie disappeared from Married with Children, and everyone involved pretended it never happened. Matt LeBlanc went on to Friends and became one of the highest paid actors in television. Joseph Bologna continued working in film and TV until his death in 2017, and Top of the Heap became a punchline, proof that even Fox's risk-taking attitude had limits. Some spin-offs are so bad they need to fail twice before networks learn their lesson. Number 1, Aftermash, spin-off of MASH, CBS. We're technically cheating with this one. Aftermash premiered in September of 1983, right after MASH ended its legendary 11-season run. But it limped into 1985, making it fair game for our 90s adjacent discussion. More importantly, It's the ultimate cautionary tale of spin-off hubris. MASH was one of the greatest shows in television history. The comedy drama about a mobile army surgical hospital during the Korean War balanced humor with heartbreak, launching careers and winning 28 Emmy Awards. The series finale in February of 1983 drew over 125 million viewers, the most watched television broadcast in history at the time. CBS, desperate to keep the MASH magic alive, greenlit Aftermash almost immediately. If the show brought back 3 beloved characters: Colonel Sherman Potter, played by Harry Morgan, Corporal Maxwell Klinger, played by Jamie Farr, and Father Francis Mulcahy, played by William Christopher. The premise followed them to a veterans hospital in Missouri, dealing with bureaucracy, difficult patients, and adjusting to peacetime. On paper, it made sense. These were fan-favorite characters, played by talented actors. MASH had proven that medical dramedy could work, and CBS was betting that audiences would follow these characters anywhere. They were wrong. The problem was that Aftermash fundamentally misunderstood what made MASH work. The original show succeeded because of its unique setting, the contrast between life-saving surgery and the absurdity of war. Take away the war, the danger, the urgency, and you're left with a generic hospital show that happened to star former MASH characters. Potter, Klinger, and Mulcahy were great supporting characters in MASH's ensemble, but as leads, they couldn't carry the dramatic weight. Hawkeye Pierce, played by Alan Alda, had been the show's moral center. Without him or characters like B.J. Hunnicutt, Margaret Houlihan, or even Frank Burns, Aftermash felt hollow. The writing struggled too. The show tried to tackle serious issues like PTSD and veteran care, but without MASH's sharp wit and emotional depth, it came across as preachy. The comedy felt forced, the drama felt flat, and the whole thing felt like watching a tribute band instead of the real thing. CBS promoted Aftermash heavily, and the premiere drew strong ratings from curious MASH fans. But viewers fled after a few episodes. By mid-season, ratings had plummeted. The network moved the show to different time slots, trying to find an audience. Nothing worked. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew tried to recapture the MASH spirit. Harry Morgan, Jamie Farr, and William Christopher were professionals who gave it their all. But even they couldn't overcome the fundamental problem. This wasn't MASH, and pretending it was only highlighted what was missing. CBS canceled Aftermash after 2 seasons and 30 episodes. The final episodes aired to barely anyone, a sad ending for a show that should never have existed. The network learned a painful lesson. You can't recreate perfection by taking a piece of it and hoping it grows into something whole. Aftermash remains the gold standard of failed spin-offs. Not because it was the worst, although it was pretty bad, but because it had everything going for it and still flopped. Beloved characters, talented actors, network support, and the goodwill of one of television's greatest shows. None of it mattered because the concept was fundamentally flawed. The cast moved on. Harry Morgan continued working until his retirement. Jamie Farr did guest appearances in game shows. And William Christopher stayed in television until health issues forced him to slow down. MASH remains beloved, its finale still one of television's greatest achievements. And Aftermash remains a warning. Some shows should end when they're supposed to, and stay ended, and there you have it. 9 forgotten spin-offs from the 90s that flopped so hard, they made network executives seriously reconsider their life choices. From the Tortellis to Aftermash, these shows proved that you can't just bottle lightning twice, no matter how hard you try, or how many cast members you bring back. What's wild is that for every successful spin-off, like Frasier or The Jeffersons, there are a dozen failures like these littering television history. Networks kept trying the same formula. Take popular characters from hit shows, give them their own series, and hope audiences follow. Sometimes it worked, but usually it didn't. So, which of these disasters did you actually watch? Did anyone sit through the Bradys and think, yes, this is what the Brady family needed, more alcoholism? Were you one of the 7 people who tuned into Cutters?